Don't quite know how to feel approaching a season where we should be full of optimism and joy. Someone who is always optimistic and indeed joyous is our Ollie, looking very hairy. It's like you've recently returned from some sort of wilderness experience. You've been mountaineering with Bear Grylls, drinking your own wee, and you're back on the channel. Hopefully, I'm somewhere close to the truth.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. I'll let you decide which 2 you got right. I've not been on a wilderness retreat. So we need to see where we go and how we take that forward. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how to feel either, really, this summer. Everybody who's watched us before knows you were joking just a little bit in terms of my optimistic attitude towards life and particularly towards United. But let's see how it goes. You know, it's still a Premier League season. We don't get all that many of them, so we've still got to find the ways to enjoy it, and we've still got to have a little bit of optimism, because that is what football's all about. You're always going to prove people wrong. It suits United that way.
I agree with that. I've actually done quite a lot of previews for different Premier League channels and write-ups, and a few of them have said the same thing, which is, are Sheffield United just there to make up the numbers? Which I find is a very disparaging comment, and I get quite defensive. Instantly, my reaction is to go, no, how dare you? We're the mighty red and white wizards from beautiful downtown Bramall Lane, and we will fight any foe. And then you kind of step back and think, right, well, if I take emotion out of it and you would just look at it as a neutral, it might look like Sheffield United haven't had the most ideal pre-season preparation. So I'm going to ask you the question that's been asked of me. Are Sheffield United just in the Premier League to make up the numbers?
No, of course they're not. We're the mighty red and white wizards. No, I think it's one of those questions, isn't it, where I understand why from the neutral perspective. I've had lots of neutral friends, or I'm in a big football group chat where, friends, but they're all there and everybody else is there. Football friends. Yeah, exactly. And as part of that, there's lots of comments as the summer's gone on. Oh, why did they even get promoted? We might as well have just kept Leicester up and let them have another season in the Championship. Why don't we just see before the season starts if we can do some switches? Oh, they're going to get Derby's record. And as the summer's gone on, it's got more and more annoying. And I've got more and more like, no, we're gonna surprise people a little bit. Now, we're not in a fantastic position. Everybody knows that this preseason hasn't been ideal. But you know what? That's how it's going to be. I think I have it in me to go very negative, but this time I want to be bullish. We need to be, if everybody else is going to slag us off, somebody's got to stand up for us. And I think we need to stand up for ourselves. I think we've got it in us to still put in a battle. We've still got that defense that I think was probably the best defense in the Championship last season. We've actually improved it with bringing in Trusty, for example. And so I've got a lot of confidence that at the very least, we're not going to be getting battered every week. It's not going to be that kind of game. We're going to play tight games. We're going to keep it to 0 wherever we can. And we're going to be trying to win games 1-0 and really trying to surprise teams, particularly at Bramall Lane. So no, we're not making up the numbers. And hopefully, whichever fans have said that, it's their team that we beat.
Everyone is writing Sheffield United off. Everyone thinks Sheffield United will go down. It is time for Sheffield United to prove them wrong, to come together, to be greater than the sum of our parts, to fight as we do against adversity, and to pull off against all the odds something that no one believes is possible except for us, because we know and we believe in our boys. I will just ask you then, Ollie.
They may take our element, but they will never take our freedom.
Oh, see, get me right there. Honestly, it's Braveheart slashed with 300. I'm going to ask you this question. What have you made of the transfer policy at United this off-season?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think in terms of the players we're bringing in, I quite like it. I think it's sensible for us to be looking at value. You know, we've had lots of conversations about what we did last time we were in the Premier League. We brought in fairly expensive players, generally speaking, English or sort of British players, and they came at a premium. So we spent £20 million 2, 3, 4 times while we were looking at players at that time. So this time we're doing it in a more sensible way. We're looking at sort of value markets where you can bring in low-cost players with potentially high upsides. But of course, that in itself comes with a risk. You know, we've seen it be really successful for teams like Brentford, teams like Brighton. But they've rarely done it in a way where those players they bring in at the low-cost, low-risk options have to go straight into the first team for a season in the Premier League. They have 6 months, 12 months. They go out on loan, they develop into the squad, and then come in when they're ready. We're not going to have that benefit. We can't give them the benefit of time. You have to come in, you have to make an impact. So do I think for this season it's necessarily going to mean that we're in a really strong position? Possibly not. Long term, I think it sets the club up really well. And I think as a strategy, there's a lot to be admired about it. What do you think? Do you think the same? Do you think its strategy is sensible, but short-term risk?
Oh, of course. But signing any player is a risk, because you could sign a player that you know is a guarantee and they get injured. So it's always a risk. It's just a case of, will these guys hit the ground running? I don't think all of them will. So I think the odds suggest that that is unlikely. I hope they all do. And on paper, I'm impressed with every single addition Sheffield United have made. And I really admire the model. It's the right way to go. I think it's just not in our nature, Ollie. We grew up with Sheffield United not spending big money. Our record signing when I was a kid, I think, was Don Hutchison forever. And it wasn't, it was like £1 million. And suddenly it gets broken, and then of course it just gets smashed. People forget that John Egan at one point was our club record signing. That's the kind of value that you want, because that's a servant for a long time in your club. He's gone on to have a great international career as well. Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. Let's see how it goes. So you've watched, as I have, pre-season games. You are now, for the first time in your life, hairier than me. What, though, have you made from that new between the hair vantage point of pre-season?
Well, it's not been fantastic, has it? If we're being honest with ourselves, it's not been good on the pitch whatsoever, generally speaking. We've had a couple of decent performances, generally inspired by 𝗟𝗚𝗏 coming in and doing bits on his own. For example, I think it was Derby, where he basically, once he was on the pitch, we were so much better, and he sort of helped us to create chances to score goals, and in the end put in a really convincing performance to win that game comfortably. But without him, it's looked very slow, very leggy. We've struggled to create chances and score goals.
And Ollie, we've just think about the players. Sorry to interrupt, but because I know you're going to move on, but while we're talking creativity, think of the players last season that were the most creative. Your McAtees, your Doyles, your 𝗟𝗟𝗏, Sander Berge, and Oliver Norwood.
I saw a list. Yeah, I saw that list, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where it's Norwood and then 𝗟𝗏𝗏 and then Sander and then Doyle and then McAtee, and we've currently got.
Is that the order? Is that the actual order?
That's the order. Yeah, that's depressing. The actual list for the 5 chances created for Sheffield United last season. And it's
over to you, Norwood.
Yeah, it's over to you, Norwood, who come March last year lost his place in the team because he'd had a little bit of a lack of form. I still have a lot of confidence in him. He started last season absolutely fantastically. And if you'd asked anybody in March, he would have made just about everybody's championship team of the year, not United team of the year, championship team of the year. So he's still got it in him. And maybe with a bit of fitness, with a good preseason behind him that he's not quite got because of that injury against Rotherham. We love United, don't we?
Yeah. Love it. Love leaving it late to get everyone kind of used to the system, which is actually a very, very difficult system to pick up. You can't just implement this kind of thing over an afternoon. Who do you think United's most important player is going to be this season? I've got in my mind who I believe, but what about you?
It's a really difficult question, because I think it's understanding what we're going to be and who we're going to have to be to try and stay up. And so for me, our most important player is probably going to be, I'm going to go for 𝗟𝗏𝗏, because I think he's our best player. First of all, I think nobody's going to dispute that fact. But I think as well, what United, like I alluded to before, we're going to have to be keeping it tight at the back. We're going to have to be win to nil, because when we win games, it's going to be 1-0 realistically this season. And so our defense has got to be solid. They've got to be organized. They've got to be compact at all times. We're going to be under the cosh a lot. We're going to have skillful players. We're going to have fast players coming at us. And that's where I think 𝗟𝗏𝗏 can really come into his own, and he can really be our standout defensive player. But we've not got that many goals in the squad either. We've got to find a way to get from one end to the other. And he showed last season he's got ball carrying ability to be the one who takes us from one end of the pitch to the other. He's also really impactful from corners, from set pieces. And again, we will rely on them. It's one of the things we were best at last season. And I'm excited that that will at least give us an avenue to goal. If we can win corners and free kicks somewhere near the edge of their box, that gives us a chance. Were you going to say the same? Do you think, 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏?
I cannot add anything to that you haven't already said. And of course, now Trusty as well. So you look at defenders in the Championship that managed to get goals from set pieces, and we've got a couple of them. It just makes it even more crucial when we're talking about injuries we need to get through, like we did when we finished ninth under Chris Wilder, a season with relatively few injuries, whereas last season was a season full of adversity. I've never really known anything like it. Let's please not have a repeat of that. For you personally, Ollie, which matches are you most looking forward to, both home and away?
I was asked this question. I did a show for another fan, I think it was Liverpool, and they asked a similar question. And I think the away game that I'm really looking forward to, and I know it sounds a bit daft, but Everton. I'm really looking forward to going to Everton because
it was great, wasn't it, when Lundstram and 𝗬𝗂, Jerry Mina got an own goal. But I remember that away game as one of the best away days. So I get that.
That's the thing. It was the best away day, but also this is the last chance we're going to have to go to Goodison. Like, they leave at the end of this season. They're going to Bramley Moor. They're not going to be at Goodison Park too much longer. So this feels like a fantastic opportunity to have one last go. Last time we were there, it was incredible. I do think of the away games on the calendar. That's probably a fairly winnable one. And so that's one that I'm always going to look forward to. Similarly, I know I've done it now. It was my own fault. Similarly, after last time, I don't know if I'm looking forward to or absolutely dreading Forest. Obviously, it's very, very early in the season. Obviously, it's going to be our first away game, I think, actually. And last time we went there was just... everything that happened was just, it sets up this game to be either a fantastic occasion for United fans where we can go there, pick up a positive result, we can all have a fantastic day and really celebrate, or it can be awful. You know, their fans can pick up where they left off last time. We can maybe not be successful, lose the game, and then it could be a nightmare. So I think that's the one that I'm most 50-50 on, but I am really looking forward to Everton. What about you? Have you got games that you're targeting? What are you targeting coming back for? Or are you back just every week?
Oh, you know, I'll very much play it by financial ear. I think to make it different from you, I'll say Forest at home. I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
And because it's just an incredible stadium, why not say Tottenham away?
Yeah, actually, because I didn't get to go last time that we were there. Obviously, John Lundstram's big toe. I wasn't there, unfortunately, for that one. So I would love to go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because it is just a fantastic place to be. I think at any of those big teams, you know, the reason that you come to the Premier League is that you're excited to play against the big teams. There are, like, it's always an occasion going to Old Trafford. Like, nothing else that can happen. There's something about Old Trafford that just feels special when you go. And so I always look forward to that journey. Obviously, last time we were there, we didn't have fans and we won. So it'd be nice for us to win there with fans. And, you know, we said our team was rubbish that day. We'd got Kean Bryan, we'd got Ollie Burke. So maybe that's the trick. We all have to go in really negative, think we've not got a good team, and then we just win at Old Trafford.
Well, that leads in beautifully to the next question. Which scalps are United taking? And we can clip this up when you've proven inevitably right.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, so guaranteed number one, we're going to beat Man United at Old Trafford. I mean, come on, guys. Obviously. Obviously, we have got a record at Bramall Lane, and we've just got to hope. We have absolutely got to hope this is a Tuesday night or a Friday night or a Wednesday night when we play Arsenal, because there is something about playing Arsenal at Bramall Lane under the lights in a night match where I've had some of my favourite memories of playing them there. So I think that's the one where every time we come to the Premier League, I think there's a chance we could get something from Arsenal. Now, Arsenal are a different beast now. They're a fantastic team, but we've got to back ourselves somewhere. And historically, that's always been a decent opportunity for us.
Yeah, I'm showing my age, but 1-0 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗃 against Arsenal. You're probably thinking more Christian Gnade, Lee
I'm 100% thinking Christian Gnade, Phil Jagielka in net. If you can beat them with Phil Jagielka in net, surely we can do it with any team that we're going to put out now.
Yeah, it's the beard that makes you look so much older and, dare I say wiser? No, I won't say wiser. Who's going to be United's top scorer, and why is it going to be Benny Traore?
I mean, I think a bigger question is how many goals is our top scorer going to score? Because
I remember a season.
Over-under.
I think it was 01-02, where it might have been David Kelly got our most goals. I think it was 6 or 7 in the season. Like, he shared it with, like, might have been Marcus Bed, Paul Devlin. I can't quite remember, but I remember it being such a low amount of goals. And you're already suggesting where you're going with this answer that it could be similar.
I am definitely suggesting that it could be similar. I'm thinking it's probably going to be in the range of around 7. I think it's probably going to be Ollie Mack. If I'm being honest, I think he's shown last season that he has at least got it in him to put the ball in the back of the net once he's got his confidence going. He did score some lovely goals and started to look like a proper player last season before injuries hit. And of course, he then ended up missing and losing some of that form. But I still think he's got it in him to kick on if we can get the players around him creating chances, particularly if we're going to look at aerial threat. I talked about set pieces. Ollie Mack can really take advantage of that. I'd love it to be 𝗵𝗍 Traoré. Absolutely. Yeah. I will love it if it's 𝗵𝗍 Traoré. But
30 goals, 𝗵𝗍 Traoré. Actually, a better example of low scoring would probably have been when I actually would be talking about a season in the Premier League when 𝗍𝗍 and the man you just said, Ollie McBurney, were joint top scorers in that season. I've already referenced now too many times when we finished. So that's good though, wasn't it? Example. It was great. Though, and you know what? When you're winning games like you said earlier, and you're keeping the back door shut, and you are just nicking it, that's actually really exciting. There's only a few games where we would go in at half time. We're like, oh, we've won this. That's not normally the way.
The one I remember, Burnley at home, John Fleck on fire.
Yeah, Burnley, and it was incredible. And do you know what? When Fleck is fully recovered, he may well return to John Fleck on fire. There'll be plenty of people saying that's not going to happen. And speaking of that, let us know in the comments as you've been watching this your answers to all of these questions. Ollie, where do you see Sheffield United finishing in the Premier League?
See, I've done my best. I have done my best, right?
Don't sigh before answering that.
I've done my best. I've given us the nice. I've been as optimistic as I get, and I've tried to focus on the positives. But realistically, I think this is going to be a long season. We've seen the departures of some of our key players from the Championship, not even just the players who we've sold, the players that were on loan that haven't returned. We have lost so much of that capacity from that team. And therefore, it's really difficult for me to have a really positive prediction. I think so much of it relies on how the new boys, how the players who are untested in top European leagues adapt to the Premier League and how quickly they can do that. I was relying on us getting off to a really good start. I thought the first 5 games, I thought there were 3 in there that looked imminently winnable. I thought that if we got 7, if we got 9 points on the board after 5, that set us up really nicely to just keep the relegation zone at arm's length and to sort of set us up to finish 15th, to finish 16th. I can't see that strong start now. I think we're going to take too much time to get into the season. And so I think that doesn't set us up well. And right now, gun to my head, I think we do get relegated and probably finish 19th. Oof. But that can all change with a good start. That's it. It's all on the start. And in the first 5 games, that's entirely where I'm going to judge the season. Because last time we were here, under Wilder, when we had a fantastic season and finished 9th, pretty good start. We did quite well. We got all the momentum. We beat Palace at home in that first game. And we really just kicked on from that point when we were at Bramall Lane. And that set us up nicely. So this time, a win on Saturday makes all the difference in the world. We get positivity. We get going. Or we lose it. And we end up a little bit like the lockdown year that nobody likes to talk about, where you start to think, where or when do we win our first game? And that's my worry, is that we've sacrificed the chance of a good start. And while I like the policy, quite like the business of players coming in, it doesn't scream hit the ground running to me. But where are you having us, Hal? You looked at me as if to say you have disappointed your entire family. So I'm assuming that you think we're staying up confidently.
You've disappointed me. I mean, after that rallying cry at the start, I'm a big believer in momentum. I really am. So yes, a good start would be ideal. However, we've stayed up before, having waited till Christmas. So yeah, I would just temper that and say, if we get things clicking and it doesn't start well, but the squad comes together and it really is an improved squad and they work as a team. It just takes a little while to gel. The fact that they will then gel will be enough for me, okay? Because once they get going, I do think this side's going to be good enough to get 17th. And I asked my 8-year-old nephew, Theo, where we'd finish. He said 17th, and that's good enough for me because he predicted the 3 teams that got promotion last season. So he's on a bit of a prediction roll. And with prediction rolling, we will roll straight into which 3 teams are going down, Ollie, and who's winning the league. We've already said you think Sheffield United, so give me the next 2 teams that are going down.
Wolves. Confident in Wolves. And either Everton or Luton.
Well, you're going to have to pick one.
Luton.
Okay, so you've said that's 3. Who's winning the league?
Who's winning the league? You see, this is another one that I'll get slated for, I'm sure. I think Man City haven't had a good summer. I know that they've brought in a couple of players, but the players they've lost feel quite heavy. I feel as though, it does look as though Kyle's likely to stay with them, but I don't think they've improved. Whereas I'm looking at the teams around them, and I think they've got better. I think
they need to improve. I don't know if you're aware that Man City have got a cyborg playing up front for them.
I've heard rumours, but then, I watched Man City at Wembley and I never saw him. I heard all about him, but he never did anything. I don't mean to slag him off. I love Erling Haaland. Don't know why I did that.
Yeah, but
he's a great guy.
You come up against lots of average defenders in the regular day in, day out. He's going to score goals. You come up against Jack Robinson.
He's got no chance, has he? Let's be honest.
Chance.
He never stood a chance.
It wasn't even fair. It was like you're watching that thing. Come along, give the guy a chance.
I think that Arsenal are going to win the league.
Well, there's reading comics and then there's that nonsense. We'll come back to that at the end of the season. I may look silly. Predict which youth prospects will get the most minutes and make a surprise impact. And I'd really be interested in the comments below on this one. I'm just going to throw Harrison Neal out as one that I've watched live a few times in the National League. I know that's the National League. If anything, Ollie, our promotion has come at a bad time for the key development of some of our younger players. I think if we were in the Championship, which is a much more fun league, we'd be able to give some of these players real meaningful minutes.
Completely agree. And actually, I really like Harrison Neal. Obviously, he was at Barrow League 2 last year, and their fans absolutely loved him. They really wanted him to come back. They thought he was a fantastic player, and they really felt he was ready to step up. They thought he would likely be, now don't get me wrong, they didn't think he's going to be in the Premier League. They thought he would be top of League One, though, even playing in the Championship, because they really felt as though his development had kicked on. So I could certainly see him having an impact. But a player, I think it is in our midfield where those youth players are most likely to make an impact. I was going to shout out Andre Brooks. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he showed last season in his few appearances in the Cup that he is ready to contribute. I don't think he's ready to be relied upon week after week, but I think as the season goes on, he's really got that chance to just show himself as a squad player for United and really bring his development on. And I think he could have an impact and a role to play.
Yeah, Harrison Neal I saw for Kettering first, and then it was a lot more for Southend. He's also, when you go to the game, you realise how vocal he is. I think he's going to be
a leader.
He's a future captain. Whether that's for Sheffield United or not will depend on if he's giving an opportunity. Sometimes with these young players, you feel like if they're not given an opportunity, they have to go elsewhere and then come back. Let's go with this one. The most important question last. Thoughts on the new kits?
Thoughts on the new kits? Obviously, it's the question closest to all of our hearts. I don't
know what you're talking about. I don't even care about kits.
No, have you ever even bought one?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a tricky one because I quite liked it until we stuck this like red blob in the middle.
Right, now let me just sort of defend this sponsor a little bit because we need to bring our old friend Billy Balance into the equation. I think we do. The sponsor itself, if it was black and white, it would look better.
A lot better.
But ideally, I think with the way that shirt's designed, something that looks like writing, like a signature, a squiggle, or I'll throw it out there, a timber merchant. I think that would look really nice. Simple.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I do think there's things in there. But yeah, for me, nice kit. I even like the away shirt. Obviously, the throwback element of it, I think is quite nice. And it's the shirt that if I was buying a retro shirt, that's the shirt I would have bought. So I can buy it not as a retro shirt. So I don't mind the kits. But like I say, that for me was the big thing. But you've defended it well, Hal. You've defended it well.
You see, it's like the rug in the Big Lebowski. It really tied the room together, and the sponsor really ties a shirt together. There's been some bad ones. Just scratching my head if anyone is watching who works for that company. I have to say, Ollie, it's been an absolute 25 minutes, and I thank you for joining us, and I thank each and every one of you for watching. We'll be back next time.